Joe Biden visits New York City to tour the damage that was done by Ida, but doesn't go to Louisiana. However, New York City tells him to get out, but don't worry. Most popular president in U.S. history, so we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that. Some new details have emerged about the coronavirus research lab and Dr. Fauci's role in this. And he is promptly told to step down, so we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that and what's going on there. Rutgers has banned an unvaccinated student from attending virtual classes. That'll be an interesting story. I'd love to see the conclusion of that. And Chelsea Manning is blocked from entering Canada. The jury is still out as to whether Bradley Manning can still go there. It's going to be all this and more. Hey, do you trust the plan yet? I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and it's a slower news day than we thought, but the news cycle keeps on getting stupider and stupider. And we're going to go over all of it, too. It's going to be a fun day over here on Contemporary. Thanks for checking us out live every morning here. And by the way, this show does not get support. This show doesn't go anywhere unless you tell a friend or tell 10 friends. So go ahead and tell a few people about this show. Come on, get them into the live chat here. Come and get them out here hanging out. We're here every morning, and I am trying to hold myself accountable and get myself back up on the 7 o'clock schedule. I know I've been slipping for the last couple weeks, but we want to be here at 7 o'clock every morning, watching Contemporary, figuring out what's going on in the world, and where to go from there. But before we get into all the news, and there is plenty of it to get to today, do make sure you go and check out my friends, the Porch Boys, the Daily Ignoramus. The Porch Boys just had their 4th episode last night. They're getting a little bit more comfortable in their elements, so go and check them out. It's definitely going to be a great time. Go ahead and check out the Daily Ignoramus, who I believe will be streaming right after us this morning, so we'll head over there and check that out together. I'll be in the live chat with you guys, unless he is back going on in the afternoon. I actually got to check that before I start here. Also, check out the R-Rated Conservative, the Freckles and Brit Show, both of whom may be on a brief hiatus right now as moving woes come in with them. I know that Brit just moved, and the R-Rated Conservative is either in the process of moving or did just move himself, or is about to move. I know that he's kind of in that little spot where they're trying to get everything together. And I mean, these are big moves, so even if you do go check them out, go give them a donation too, because they need the help. They're making big changes in their lives. Also, go check out the Breakdown with Birkenhoff. Go and check out all of those shows, and once we get our new website back up, they will all be conveniently in one place, along with some great writers, a few people I've already had conversations with, and a few people who may be submitting sporadically as well. Go over there, check out all those great people, and help us support great creators. And I also want to point out, thank you guys all for the views, for telling friends. We're getting more people in here every episode. You guys rock. This show does not go without your donations. So if you like what you see, there are links that are going to be in the chat throughout the show if you're on the YouTube or the Twitch side. Throw a couple bucks here and there. There's the Buy Me a Coffee, and there's just the regular PayPal as well. Throw a couple bucks. Help us out. Help get new equipment. Help get new computers. Help get help ease up some of the overhead that goes along with this as well. I mean, this does draw a little bit of electricity too. Help me out, and we'll keep the news coming for you guys every single morning, every weekday morning at 7. All right, let's get into it here. Let's get the live chat up so you guys can see what's going on here. Looks like we got a couple people in here already this morning. Good, good, good. Let's get started. Starting with the Dow, which took another tumble yesterday. 35,100 points is the new Dow. That's down 269.09 points, or 0.76%. And it doesn't look like today is going to be any better, at least as the futures contracts show. Now, of course, as IBD always says at the end of their publication, actual trading doesn't actual trading is not reflected by what the future said, so always check and see what the actual trading did throughout the day, and that's going to change as the news goes by. That's going to change as the news goes back and talks about and changes everything throughout the day, but that's what we're seeing right now, another down day for the Dow, and I'm not really surprised. Bitcoin had a rough day as well. Let's get that refreshed here. It is on sale right now, once again. After peaking at 52,000, Bitcoin is back down to another 46,558 US dollars and 80 US cents. Buy a little Bitcoin, it's on sale. Don't pay full price for your Bitcoin, yo. Buy a little bit while it's on sale. This is not official financial advice. Always check with your financial advisor before making any long-term purchases like this, but it's on sale right now, so I would think about it if it was me. All right, your metal prices look very much reversed from what we saw just yesterday. Copper has actually dropped, so if you had your copper in, I guess today would be the day to get it because it's now back on the retreat. Steel, however, is on the uptick, so hold on to your steel if you've got some steel you want to, and aluminum is also on its uptick right now, so I'd hold on to that aluminum as well. Yeah, all your coppers looks like they're all dropping like a rock. Brass actually came back up. I don't understand because brass is mostly made of copper. Why it is that when copper goes down, brass goes up. But that's where we're sitting. Iron is up, but it looks like a lot of other steel is down throughout this, in spite of the fact that it was enough to bring the national average back up still. Lead is up. Cats are down. Aluminum radiators are up. Some other pieces of aluminum are down, so watch where your metal prices go, and I would still hold on to those cans for just a little bit longer if you could. All right, let's see what IBD has to say. 3 steps to trading success. Tuesday, September 14th, 2021, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. Peastern. What the? Dow Jones Futures, Apple leads market rally, Tesla, China sales, PayPal deal, Bitcoin in focus from Ed Carson. Dow Jones Futures were little changed Wednesday morning, along with S&P 500 Futures and NASDAQ Futures. Tesla China sales jumped in August, PayPal made a buy now, pay later deal, while Bitcoin remains in focus. The stock market rally was mixed on Tuesday, though Apple stock, Tesla, and some other big cap leaders fared well. Software and industrial names retreated, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies tumbled, though they and Bitcoin-related stocks such as Coinbase pared losses somewhat. Coupa Software, Smartsheet, and UiPath headlined earnings reports after the close. Coupa easily beat EPS views and guided higher. Smartsheet also topped, while guiding fiscal 2022 EPS in line. UiPath topped views and offered in line to slightly higher guidance. Coop stock initially surged more than 10% overnight, but pared gains to 6%. SMAR stock slightly extended from a buy zone, not ASMR, SMAR. The stock, the stock that makes you feel all tingly inside. Fell 3% in extended trade. Path stock tumbled 8.5% before the open, threatening post-IPO lows. Meanwhile, Bumble fell 4% in pre-market trade. The dating app where women choose the matches will offer 15 million shares on behalf of existing holders. Bumble stock, which came public in February, hit 60.87 intraday Tuesday, briefly clearing a 60.44 bottoming base buy point, but shares reversed to close down 3.6% to 57.77. Global E Online will sell 12 million shares on behalf of existing holders. Global E, another 2021 IPO, fell 2% in extended action. Shares have been on a big run, but have pulled back over the last several sessions. All right. On Apple, Apple stocks rose 1.5% to 156.69, hitting a new high. The Dow Jones Tech Titan will hold a product launch event on September 14th with new versions of the iPhone and Apple Watch expected to be unveiled. Meanwhile, Ford hired Doug Field, who has been in charge of the secretive Apple Car project. Field previously was a top Tesla executive and decades ago worked at Ford. So it looks like Ford is actually going to be the one that's doing the Apple Car, maybe. We'll see where that goes. Apple stock is still above 150.10 buy point, with a 5% chase zone that goes to 157.61, but it's starting to feel a little extended. On the plus side, the relative strength line for Apple stock hit a 7-month high, the RS line. The blue line in the charts provided track a stock's performance versus the S&P 500 index. So that's what we're seeing coming off of that. Netflix popped 2.7% to 606.71, breaking out above a 593.39 buy point from a long consolidation. According to Markets Meta-Analysis, Netflix has risen 16 of the last 17 sessions. They're gonna have Cowboy Bebop. We're all gonna go get our Netflix back. PayPal advanced 1.4% to 293.26 on Tuesday. PayPal rose from its 50-day line and cleared a downward sloping trend line, offering an early entry PayPal stock as an official flat base buy point of 310.26. On Wednesday, PayPal agreed to acquire Japanese buy now pay later startup Paydi for about $2.7 billion. That follows a $29 billion Square deal for Australia's Afterpay and Amazon, teaming up with a firm PayPal has already had an in-house BNPL offering. PayPal stock advanced 1% early on Wednesday. Alright. And Bitcoin dropped. Bitcoin plunged on Tuesday from nearly 53,000 to 42,921.27 before rebounding to trade around 47,000 for much of the day. The Bitcoin was around 46.6 on Wednesday. El Salvador, as promised months ago, deemed Bitcoin its legal tender as of Tuesday. The Latin American country also bought some Bitcoin, but there were many protests against the move. Ethereum, Doge, and other altcoins also sold off hard on Tuesday. On your futures, Dow Jones futures rose a fraction, S&P 500 futures were little changed, and NASDAQ 100 futures tilted lower. Remember, overnight action at Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. A lot of moves, a lot of stuff moved yesterday on the stock markets. Part of this because they didn't move at all on Monday because all the markets were closed, but there were a lot of big moves sitting here. And we kind of saw the Bitcoin moving downwards a little bit, so I kind of anticipated the drop, but it's on sale. I'm never going to sell off the crypto that I have. I'm never going to sell that. In fact, I'd like to get a wallet out there so you guys can donate back into it as well, because I'm never selling that stuff. I'm never going to not hold crypto. But once again, check with your financial advisor, see what is best for you guys. Let's read here from Fox Business. NASDAQ hits record. Boeing weighs down Dow, from Jonathan Garber. U.S. stocks were mixed on Tuesday as traders returned to work following Labor Day weekend and assessed unemployment benefits that expired for over 7 million Americans and the impact on the U.S. economy. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 267 points, or 0.76%, while the S&P 500 declined 0.34%, and the Nasdaq edged up 0.07%. The small gain in Nasdaq propelled the tech-heavy index to its fourth straight all-time closing high. The $300 per week in supplemental unemployment benefits expired over the weekend in the 25 states that have not yet ended the payments. The program's expiration came as economists at Goldman Sachs slashed their growth outlook for the year. Bond yields continued to climb after rising in the wake of last week's disappointing jobs report. The benchmark 10-year yield was up 5 basis points at 1.37% after advancing 3 basis points on Friday. In stocks, financials including JP and Bank of America and Citigroup were mixed as rising bond yields swung the yield curve steeper. Moderna shares fell on speculation its booster shot will not be approved by the FDA in time for the government's September 20th planned push, while Pfizer and BioNTech SE's version is expected to meet the deadline. Elsewhere, heavyweight Boeing was in focus after the Wall Street Journal reported 787 Dreamliner deliveries will likely be delayed until at least October, as it awaits a regulatory approval. Separately, Irish low-cost carrier Ryanair Holdings, Boeing's biggest customer outside the U.S., says it will not make a new order for 737 MAX jets due to a dispute over pricing. Meanwhile, Match Group Incorporated, the parent company of Tinder, will also join the S&P 500, replacing private label pharmaceutical manufacturer Perrigo Company plc. S&P Dow Jones indices said. So Bumble and Match both became parts of the stock market here, parts of the big trade. Interesting. That pandemic really ruined a lot of relationships, I think. PIMCO agreed to buy Columbia Property Trust for $2.2 billion. GameStop and Kroger are among companies to report earnings later this week. That's what we're seeing coming out of the markets here. Let's get into the big news of the day. And we're going to start today with ABC News. Biden to lay out new strategy against Delta variant of COVID-19 from Sarah Kolonovsky. As COVID-19 case rates remain at a level not seen since before vaccines were widely available in the U.S., President Biden is set to deliver remarks on Thursday on a new strategy to stop the spread of the Delta variant, White House officials confirmed on Tuesday. On Thursday, the president will speak to the American people about his robust plan to stop the spread of the Delta variant and boost vaccinations, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said. In the remarks, the president will lay out a six-pronged strategy, including both public and private sectors, she added. Biden has already made significant moves in requiring vaccines among public sector workers. He instituted a vaccine requirement for the nation's 2.1 million federal employees, and the Department of Defense will require vaccination for more than 1.3 million active duty service members. But realistically, Biden has a limited legal authority to institute a broad vaccine mandate for most Americans. Yes, that's true, Psaki said on Tuesday, confirming Biden's hands were tied when it comes to a widespread mandate. Psaki did seem to suggest that Biden will call on the private sector to institute more mandates. Major corporations such as Facebook, Google, and Citigroup have already announced vaccination requirements. We don't have a preview quite yet. I will note that we've seen that there are a range of ways that we have increased vaccinations across the country, or vaccinations have increased, I should say. One of them is private sector companies mandating in different capacities that their employees get vaccinated, or certain school districts mandate, Psaki said on Tuesday. Biden has alluded to his plan to lay out his COVID-19 strategy in economic remarks on Friday, focused on the disappointing August jobs report. So, I'm going to go out and lay a guess on this and say his six-pronged plan to fight the coronavirus involves centralizing more power to the top, it involves taking away more of your freedoms, and it involves closing more businesses in order to let his big business buddies thrive. The people who are donating to his campaign and the campaigns of his buddies in the Congress and in local and state races as well. I got a feeling that's more of what this is. Ruin the American people and get more money to the big boys, the big business guys. All right, with that, we will move on. We'll probably talk about this when this breaks and when this drops. Let's talk a bit about what happened in New York. So Biden visited Queens this week to go and check out the damage that came from Hurricane Ida. We're going to start with a tweet from Breaking 911 that has some of the speech here. So let's listen to what it is that he had to say. Let's drop the music for us, and let's listen to the Houseplant in Chief.
And folks, the evidence is clear. Climate change poses an existential threat to our lives, to our economy, and the threat is here. It's not going to get any better. The question, can it get worse? We can stop it from getting worse. That's right. And when I talk about building back better, and Chuck is fighting for my program, our program on the Hill, when I talk about building back better, I mean you can't build to what it was before this last storm. You got to build better so if the storm occurred again, there would be no damage. There would be. But that's not going to stop us, though, because if we just do that, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse, because the storms are going to get worse and worse and worse. And so, folks, we got to listen to the scientists and the economists and the national security experts. They all tell us this is code red. The nation and the world are in peril. That's not hyperbole. Yeah. That is a fact. They've been warning us the extreme weather would get more extreme over the decade, and we're living in real time now. Or we can look.
Oh boy, where to begin on something like that? And I mean, really, honestly, when you hear a speech like this, this is nothing new. The leftward part of Biden's party will come out, and that's the first thing that they will do is come out and tell you that we need to do more and do better things, because what we saw of this natural phenomena that's been happening on this country for literally millions of years millions of years before man ever settled this country. But this natural phenomenon, I mean, it's climate change, you guys. We got to stop doing what we're doing because climate change. The climate change is going to kill us all. This is actually the first time that I've seen a Democrat. I'm not surprised by any stretch of the imagination, but this is the first time I've seen a Democrat use something like this to try to improve industrials, to try to improve the infrastructure plan, and give a big boost to the industrial companies that are going to be using tons and tons and tons of fossil fuels to go and do their building and do their moving of stuff around. So, I mean, that's interesting. I do think that he did take one line of that speech there from Captain Planet. Remember, how did that start when you saw the theme song? Our world is in peril. Gaia, the spirit of the earth, found that something must be done to save it. She said 5 special rings to 5 special young people. But listen to the scientists. Science! Trademark. All right, let's talk about some of this stuff here. Reading from ABC 7 Eyewitness News out of New York. President Biden surveys deadly Ida disaster zones in New Jersey and New York City. Eyewitness News, no author given. President Biden traveled to New Jersey and New York City Tuesday to survey damage in parts of the Northeast that suffered catastrophic flash flooding from the remnants of Hurricane Ida. Biden declared climate change everyone's crisis. After touring the neighborhood severely damaged by Ida, he said it's time for America to get serious about the danger or even face worse loss of life and property. He planned to use the muddy backdrop to call for federal spending to fortify infrastructure so it can better withstand such powerful storms, with his plan calling for $1 trillion in infrastructure spending nationwide currently pending in Congress. Jill, what's my line? I'm hoping to be able to see the things that we're going to be able to fix permanently with a bill that we have for our infrastructure, Biden said as he left the White House when asked what he hoped to see on the tour. Eyewitness News was at JFK as Air Force One touched down around 11 a.m. The president was greeted by Governor Phil Murphy and First Lady Tammy Murphy before walking the tarmac to Marine One, which took him to his first meeting. So, why is he in New York? I'm curious about that. Now, yes, I understand that New York are often his constituency, and they did get hit. I'm not trying to downplay the damage that happened in New York by any stretch of the imagination, and if the president's going to be going and making visits like this, he should definitely be going there as well. But I don't know. I think that Louisiana would be first on my list. Mississippi would be first on my list. I think I'd go there first if it was me. Wouldn't you? Because they got hammered harder than New York did. I mean, it was a lot of rain by the time it got to New York. All the steam was taken out of its sails. But hey, you do you, I guess. The president met with state and local leaders in Somerset County to discuss their needs, and Murphy made good on his promise to ask Biden to include more counties for federal aid. The current disaster declaration includes Bergen, Gloucester, Hunterdon, Middlesex, Passaic, and Somerset counties. Essex, Union, Hudson, Mercer at a minimum, Murphy said. Biden expressed condolences to the families who died and listed help being provided by FEMA. "Hey, you really took a hit," he said. The losses we witnessed were profound." Biden went house to house in the flood-prone section known as the Lost Valley, where the front yards are littered with furniture and clothing ruined by the storm. He talked with residents and hugged a little boy who approached him before... Sniff, sniff. That little kid smells good, man. Come on. And hugged a little boy who approached him before walking up to one of the houses that burned down. Ducking under the yellow tape, he approached the front steps, now leading only to a pile of rubble. Many businesses on North Main Street have been wiped out, with garbage and debris piled high on curbs inside their signs of water that rose 2 to 3 feet, destroying anything in its path. Residents faced a long rebuild. In Manville alone, it will cost millions just to return life to normal for residents and businesses still working to clean up. Still, folks insist that everyone in town is pulling together to help in this time of need, and they hope the federal government will come through. President Biden then headed to New York City, where residents in Woodside are still busy throwing out damaged belongings and drying out what they can salvage. But they're also hanging up American flags and Yankees jerseys. Yankees suck. Showing their New York pride and ready for any help the president will offer. "We just want to see things change back up here," said Dr. Jonathan Rojas, "because we never expected anything like this. It looked like an Olympic swimming pool back here. It was crazy." Basements and cars were wiped out by more than 5 feet of floodwaters. As demolition continues, the recovery has barely begun. The president walked around dusty Queens Alley of broken asphalt and now broken dreams, dodging the occasional puddles with Senators Schumer and Gillibrand, Mayor de Blasio and Governor Hochul by his side. Oh yeah, I'm sure that she was ready to go off and get a nice photo op. I wish every American could walk down this back alley with me, but they don't have Secret Service agency, and they'll likely get mugged, Biden said. This is America. This is where I'm standing right now. It's about time we step up, and they're always the first ones that are hurt and the last ones that are helped. But it's not going to happen this time, Biden said. So, and once again, Louisiana, Mississippi, and everything else in the path from there to where this all got before it got back to New York City. What about the rest of the country? Why is it you're going right to New York City? Louisiana got hammered a week ago. I just can't with some of the stuff, you guys. I really can't. It's so stupid. Earlier Tuesday, Mayor de Blasio announced some additional disaster relief for New Yorkers impacted by the storm. Permit fees will be waived starting immediately for city residents working to repair damage from Ida's remnants. The mayor said the city is also providing extended hotel emergency shelter service, free water pumping service to those impacted, debit cards through the Red Cross, and rent payment assistance through the Met Council. So there is some help going for New Yorkers, and like I said, I'm not downplaying the damage that happened in New York over the weekend. I am not. It sucked. We watched some of the videos from last week. The subway one especially. We saw some of the stuff that happened with this. I'm not downplaying it. But there is another big swath of the country that also got impacted by this storm. So it might be time to go back and pay attention to them as well. All right, reading here from Spectrum News, New York 1. Biden visits storm-ravaged Queens, making the case for infrastructure spending bill. From Gloria Pazmino of Queens. That's right. Never let a good crisis go to waste, you guys. President Biden arrived at the 24th in Astoria on Tuesday to witness the aftermath of what dozens of residents had survived just days ago. A gushing flow of rainwater that flooded their street and tore through their businesses, tearing away belongings and leaving destruction in its path. Let me begin by saying I wish every American could walk down this alley with me. Because I want to see how they smell, man. Come on. And talk to the people who've been devastated, Biden said, delivering remarks after a short tour of the area. President Biden toured homes in East Elmhurst on Monday. Flanked by city and state elected officials, he promised to deliver resources to those who are now trying to recover. My message to everyone grappling with this devastation. We're here. We're not going home until this all gets done. Come on, man. And I really mean that. We're not leaving. Don't make me go to Louisiana, man. Come on. We're going to continue to shout as long as it takes to get real progress here. Biden approved major disaster declaration for New York, making federal funding available to those who had property damaged by the storm. The president also warned that extreme weather events like Hurricane Ida are a sign of nation in peril. As a result of climate change, he stressed that a drastic action would be needed in order to prevent weather patterns from worsening and continue to wreak havoc across the country. We got to listen to the scientists and the economists and the national security experts, Biden said. They all tell us this is code red. The nation and the world are in peril. Gaia, the spirit of the... Oh, that's not my line. And that's not hyperbole. That's fact. Biden also promised his $1 trillion infrastructure plan, which passed the Senate in August, but must still pass in the House. If enacted, the proposal would help strengthen the country's response to climate change. It's a tall order that would require the support of all 50 Senate Democrats and more moderate members of the House. Meanwhile, following Biden's visit, Governor Hochul was visited Flushing, a hard-hit neighborhood where cleanup has been slow and residents are frustrated. They haven't heard from state or local agencies yet. But yes, we look back at this and we see, oh yes, a hurricane. And because of the hurricane, let's go back and let's talk about the infrastructure bill. Never let a good crisis go to waste, you guys. We will get our political agenda done. Don't make me go to Louisiana, man. Come on. All right, let's grab one from CBS 2, WLNY 10, CBS New York. Queens residents implore President Biden to help with long-term change to prevent future severe storm destruction. This is from Allie Bellman. President Biden on Tuesday saw firsthand the devastation left behind by the remnants of Hurricane Ida. The president met with local lawmakers and homeowners who lost everything last week to floodwaters. In all, he made 3 stops, first in New Jersey, where he visited Hillsborough and Manville, and later in New York. He witnessed the destruction in Queens, CBS 2's Christina Fan reported. Looks like we've got some video as well. Let's see what this sounds like. See if this is the same video we watched earlier.
Little did I know that just one day later, we'd be the ones asking for help, that we would have experienced a cataclysmic weather event of proportions the likes of which have never been seen in our state. The volume of water that came down in a 1-hour period from 8:51 p.m. to 9:51 p.m. last Wednesday night broke all the records, and literally the records have been set 10 days before. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the definition of a climate crisis. We're experiencing a climate crisis as we speak. But more than talking about that, it's a humanitarian crisis. And you only have to walk down this street, as I have many times, with our elected officials who care so deeply about the people who live here and throughout Queens and all the other affected communities, to know that people that we represent, who put their faith in us, are in pain right now. They're hurting. They look into our eyes and they ask us to help, and we will not abandon them. Every one of us here, our elected leaders, down from our president to our senators, our Congress members, our assembly members, our mayors, everyone, including our council members, we are here to help. And I am so grateful to President Biden for being so responsive. He called me immediately. He had our great FEMA administrator call me. He called again. What do you need? And after I issued the emergency declaration in the crisis, we put forth a request for a major disaster declaration. Now, just about 10 years ago, I was a member of Congress. 9 years ago, we had Katrina. And those of you who experienced that understood that it took from October till December, even January, before the aid came to our state. People were playing politics with people's lives back then, despite the best efforts of our leaders here.
So once again, are we going to go to Louisiana? Are you going to go down there and talk there? Why New York? And once again, not downplaying the damage that happened from this thing. It was intense. Also, don't know why Tara Reid is trending. Just that's a little side note. I tried to find that out yesterday. I couldn't find any news stories about it. It just sounds like a bunch of people that wanted to bitch about Tara Reid. A wall of Democrats. I don't believe Tara Reid, by the way, either. I don't believe Christine Blasey Ford or E. Jean Carroll either. I don't believe Tara Reid. I don't believe any of them. None of them brought forward any sort of corroborating evidence. But I also didn't spend a year saying, believe all women! Believe all women! Alright, but it looks like we're not going to sit and watch a half an hour of this video. Let's keep going here. The president's trip to East Elmhurst centered on an alley near 87th Street that was inundated with 7 feet of water. Waves crashed down here, testing the aging infrastructure and taking lives, man. Come on. More lives were taken here than down in Louisiana, Biden said. Of the death toll in New York City. Are you fucking kidding me? Is this his Katrina? No, because nobody's going to hold him to account for it. One of his key talking points, climate change, and the need for better infrastructure is what families say failed them during Ida. We started with... Oh, that's resident. We started with little towels at 3 feet up. We gave up. At 7 feet, just went to the front of the house and prayed, resident Tina Jimenez said. Jimenez was one of many residents desperate to share her story. The basement of her home chronically floods, so much so she moved the outlets 3 feet off the floor. The water keeps coming like a tsunami, she says on cell phone video from last week. But Ida pummeled the area with so much rain, the water eventually submerged most of her staircase. The force of the current broke down her bathroom door. Residents from 86th Street to 88th Street said they've waited for years for the city to fix the drainage system. In the back alleyways, we are not connected to the sewer system, so whenever it rains, the water just sits there, Mango Carew said. It's so costly that we cannot do it ourselves. That's why we need the help, Norma Jimenez said. Local leaders say infrastructure improvements are especially critical because many families can only afford to live in low-lying basement apartments. The majority of the 13 city residents who lost their lives during Ida lived in such units. We're asking President Biden during his visit today to hopefully see the urgency of a Green New Deal in order for workers to update our infrastructure so that our sewage system can actually keep up with the increasing populations and be able to service the work that the way it should be, said State Senator Jessica Ramos. Yes, and once again, we're going to use this new crisis here to push the infrastructure bill and the Green New Deal. It's politics. That's all they're going to use. They're going to use another disaster that the Green New Deal wouldn't prevent, by the way, to go try to push a Green New Deal and to try to push infrastructure. Hey, let's just spend $1 trillion because hurricanes happen every once in a while. Alright, let's move on to the Daily Wire, which we're going to have some more video from that. That's the reason I picked this one. Biden screamed at New Jersey. You leave Americans behind. Resign, you tyrant. Go home. From Ryan Saavedra. Most popular president in history. Democrat President Joe Biden was screamed at by people in New Jersey as he surveyed storm damage in the area on Tuesday, with some calling on him to resign. Videos posted to social media appeared to show one man yelling at Biden that he left Americans behind, a reference to the Biden admin failing to get out all U.S. citizens from Afghanistan before the U.S. military pulled out of the country last week. Let's listen.
Leave them in ruins and leave Americans behind. Shit. Leave Americans behind. He will leave you behind. You guys protected him. He'll leave you guys behind.
That's great.
Leave our American behind.
Ronald Wiltrick buried in Arlington, 2011, December 11th. For what? He lost his life for what? Leave them in ruins and leave.
Dude, he just looks... Watch Biden during this video, because like he looks like a demented old man. I apologize for telling you to watch Biden while looking at his ass, but...
Americans behind.
Shit.
Leave Americans behind.
That's fucking crazy.
He will leave you behind. You guys protected him. He'll leave you guys behind.
That's great.
Leave our American behind.
Ronald Wiltrick buried in Arlington.
Another video showed someone yelling at Biden, "Resign, you tyrant." There's fucking Cory Booker, too. Whoa! Why are these people out here? Why are they yelling at Biden? Don't they know he's not Trump? Why are they yelling at him? We got rid of the orange man. Most popular president in history. Matt Arco, a reporter for Star Ledger, tweeted that individuals also allegedly yelled at Biden, "Biden, go home, you should resign, fucking tyrant, and this country's going to shit." The comments came after a report from CBS News and remarks from Representative Michael McCall over the weekend, which said that the Taliban was preventing flights from leaving Afghanistan. The flights were supposed to be carrying American citizens and green card holders and SIV applicants. Both the congressman and CBS News claimed the situation was effectively a hostage situation. Do we have more video? No, we don't have any more video. That's what I want to do. I just want to come over here and show the videos for these. Of course it's Cory Booker. Why wouldn't it be? All right, from the New York Post, on that, with Ida, with all the stuff that we have going on from there. Once again, I don't know why, before we move on and get out of this, I don't know why he won't go visit Louisiana. I don't know why he went to New York first. I really don't. Because he should have been there first. He should have been there last week. But apparently they had other stuff going on that they needed to take care of. I'll be interested to see if he actually goes down to the L and hangs out there, goes to try to survey that damage. A lot of that's already been cleaned up. Or if he faces more backlash like what we saw from the Daily Wire. Resign, you tyrant! I'd be curious to see what happens with that. All right, let's grab one from Samuel Chamberlain over at the New York Post. State Department won't give private rescue flights okay to leave Afghanistan. This is interesting because it does look like there was a leaked email that got intercepted. So let's see what's going on with that. The State Department said it will not formally approve the departure of chartered planes from Afghanistan carrying Americans and allies, complicating efforts by private citizens to complete the evacuation of the left behind, according to an email obtained by Fox News. In a September 1st email to attorney Eric Montalvo, a former U.S. Marine who has organized a series of evacuation flights, a State Department official acknowledged that any flights taking Afghan refugees to Europe or the Middle East for initial processing may require some indication from the U.S. government, that we approve of this charter flight in order to land. The email continued, State Department will not provide an approval, but we will provide no objection to the destination country government via the U.S. Embassy in that country. The New York Times, a former newspaper, reported last week that Montalvo's law firm had chartered a flight for 300 people from Afghanistan that landed in Doha on August 31st. The flight reportedly caused consternation among U.S. diplomatic and military personnel, with Greta Holtz, charged affairs at the Doha embassy, reporting that U.S. Central Command didn't want the wing commander to land the plane because it didn't have status. It had already landed. The September 1st email from the State Department to Montalvo warned him that no charters were allowed to land at a Department of Defense base, and most, if not all, countries in the Middle Eastern region, with the exception of perhaps Saudi Arabia, will not allow charters to land. You need to find another destination country, the email went on, and it can't be the U.S. either. Dude, that's fucking shifty. Since the American military withdrawal on Afghanistan ended on August 30th, private citizens and non-profit groups have scrambled to arrange transportation out of Taliban-controlled territory for the dozens of American citizens and estimated thousands of Afghans who assisted U.S.-led NATO forces during the 2-decade-long war. White House Press Secretary red-haired bobblehead argued last week that the notion that the Biden admin was stopping such initiatives was incorrect. That's not what the emails show. Actually, I don't really want to open Fox News right now because I don't want to give them a click. I hope I don't have to. But I do want to see if they actually have the email published. Let's open this up and have a look.
Now, Americans behind these private...
Shut up. State Department refused to grant official, not be allowed to land at DOD. Show me the documents. Show me the documents. Show me the documents. No. No, they didn't publish the email. Did they tell us how they got it? No, they don't do that either. Why don't I have music up, man? Come on, man. No, they don't show anything on this as to how they got the email, or they don't publish it either. Show me the documents. The documents, man. Show me the documents. Anyone who suggests that we're preventing these flights, that's not accurate, she said during a briefing on September 2nd, before she circled back. We couldn't prevent a charter flight from taking off, but what's important for people to understand is where we have some concern, and that's the fact that we do not have a reliable means to confirm the basic details of charter flights, including who may be organizing them, the number of American citizens and other priority groups on board. That is an excellent question. I don't have all the information for that, so I will circle back. The accuracy of the manifest and where the plane may land, and what security protocols that are taking place, added Psaki, who cited active threats from the terror group ISIS-K, Afghanistan as the reason for the administrative stance. So, in that response, she just said that we are absolutely not stopping charter flights from landing in U.S.-controlled zones, but we're totally stopping flights from landing in U.S.-controlled zones if they're coming out of Afghanistan. What? Dude, this is shifty. But I understand, especially if the news media is going to come back up and try to hold the narrative. I do understand the fact of they need to hold the narrative up, and in order to keep the narrative, in order to keep the story going that they want to keep, they have to stick with the idea of their truth that everybody that was left behind wanted to stay behind, and nobody who wanted to get out couldn't get out. But that's still shifty as shit. From the Daily Wire, veteran who helped rescue Americans out of Afghanistan, Biden admin stopped our evacuation flights. From Daily Wire News. A U.S. military veteran who allegedly helped rescue American citizens out of Afghanistan says the Biden admin stopped private flights which were being used for evacuation efforts from leaving the country. The veteran, Chris Mills, made the remarks during an interview with CNN's Chris Cuomo on Tuesday. Chris Cuomo, hey, I'm going to tell you what it is that you're supposed to think. And if you don't do what I tell you to think, and you don't think what I tell you to, I'm going to rough you up, huh? What do you think I am? Some kind of Fredo, huh? Saying the team that he helped work with had the ability to evacuate 25 American citizens out of Afghanistan during the very beginning days of the Biden admin's chaotic pullout, and that they had the clearance and paperwork lined up to conduct the flight. That was thwarted by the State Department, then the DOD, where they essentially tried to deny our PPR, put us in a pattern for almost 15 minutes, and then said, even if you land this aircraft, we're going to go ahead and take the aircraft certificate. We're going to help ground. We're going to ground the pilots. Mills said. I mean, look, the bottom line is that would have been 25 Americans, so the land border crossing wouldn't even been necessary if they could have let us land at the time. On the second occasion, where we finally got to have those families out of Kabul and into a different location, they were manifested on another aircraft. That aircraft had been approved by the Taliban, had been approved by the DOD, it had been approved by the State Department, and right before the last hour it was ready to fly, the State Department went ahead and canceled the flight or disapproved the flight because they wanted to vet the manifest, which I can understand and appreciate, he continued. But these are Americans who are basically being left behind. Now again, one of the statements you made, which I completely agree with, is this isn't a time to throw mud and be a political animal that says, okay, well, the left did this or the right did that. Mills said that he understands the administration's alleged concern about vetting, but noted that individuals had been screened thoroughly and that he did not want that to be something that prevents us from saving Americans and keeping them in harm's way. Let's watch some of what this went, how this went.
All right, so let's make a post-Labor Day pact. Let's forget the left and right. Let's just be reasonable when it comes to how we get people out of Afghanistan who belong in America. We need the State Department to make this happen. The military is all but out of the game. At least that's what they tell us. The State Department saying they help facilitate the departure of 4 American citizens via an overland route, meaning traveling by land to a third country, is great. An official tells us our embassy greeted the Americans as they crossed the border into the third country. The question is it true? Because we have to have the Department of State more involved, and we're hearing so much reporting from the ground that they're not getting it right. Republicans involved in the rescue effort, like my next guest, are telling a different story. They say the State Department actually thwarted the efforts of the veterans on the ground who are helping to get a woman and her 3 kids out. Army combat veteran Corey Mills joins me now from a bordering country with Afghanistan. We should note Mills is also a Florida congressional candidate and a Republican. Now, they're going to think I'm kind of blurring your face and kind of not, Corey. This is just the lighting. You're backlit. It's fine. And I appreciate you being with us, and I appreciate your efforts on the ground. What is the truth about the State Department knowledge and role in your extraction?
Well, Chris, thanks so much for having me. Yeah, I apologize for the backlighting. This is about as good as I can get from
It's
where
fine.
I'm at. So bottom line is that I think that when it comes to the amazing guys who are here in country that I'm operating out of, I think the State Department has been very helpful and supportive. I think the issue is that DC and State Department and the swamp, they're really where the problem has existed. You know, we had the ability to go in the very beginning days to land a aircraft that would have evacuated 25 Americans out that we had already identified, that we had already coordinated with. And we had already had approved PPR. We had flyover approvals. I mean, everything necessary to have put the aircraft on the ground, had an hour's time on the ground, could have loaded our staff that were just out, our team, that were just outside the gates, got them in, got them on, and got them out. And that was the original plan. That was thwarted by the State Department and the DOD, where they essentially tried to deny our PPR, put us in pattern for almost 15 minutes, and then even said that if you land this aircraft, that we're going to go ahead and take the aircraft certificate, we're going to ground the pilots, and then even have an F-16 go ahead. I mean, look, the bottom line is that would have been 25 Americans, so that this land bordering crossing wouldn't have even been necessary if they could have let us land at that time. On the second occasion, where we finally had to get these families out of Kabul and into a different location, they were manifested on another aircraft. That aircraft had been approved by the Taliban, had been approved by the DOD, had been approved by the State Department. And right before the nth hour, when it was ready to fly, the State Department went ahead and canceled that flight or disapproved that flight because they wanted to vet the manifest, which I can understand and appreciate. But these are Americans who are basically being left behind. Now, again, one of the statements that you made, which I completely agree with, this isn't a time to throw mud and be a political animal that says, okay, well, the left did this or the right did that. We welcome the State Department's support. We actually received some of that support when we were in this bordering country, once we were kind of on that 99-yard line. I think that the amazing guys that I've been able to be on this team with, I don't lead this team, I'm not the organizer, but I am a member of this team. And what we've been able to do here, I think sets the...
All right, we heard a lot of that there. So I do appreciate the fact that this guy is coming out and saying that we don't need to make this a right-left thing. And we don't. But I do take issue with the fact that some of the people who are on the left side of the political aisle are some of the people who are pushing this that are pushing for the State Department to not approve these visas. I want to get these people out. That is my priority, to get these people up out of this country. But I understand that there are some other issues that go along with that do have political ramifications. Let's put that aside for right now. Let's get the people out of the country that want to get out of the country, and we will worry about the right and the left on Election Day in 2022. Let's just come together and get American citizens back home where they can be safe, and worry about the political ramifications in 2022. That's my suggestion for this. And then hold these people accountable at the ballot box come that day. All right, let's grab one from Fox News, the one that I did give them the click for. I don't actually know why this was important, But I wanted to present this to you guys and see if you guys thought this was important or not. I don't really, honestly. It's another shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's, it's fodder for the leftoids on Twitter to run and say, what about the 5,000 people that Trump let out? Ooh, evil drugs news. You got owned. Ha 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 ha. You must love socialism because you just got publicly owned. Stupid shit like that. 4 prisoners Obama exchanged for Bo Bergdahl, now in senior Taliban posts. From Kyle Morris. 4 out of 5 Guantanamo detainees from... Wow, why can't I talk this morning? 4 out of 5 Guantanamo detainees whom former President Barack Obama released in exchange for former U.S. Army Sergeant Bo Bergdahl in 2014 now hold senior positions in the interim government created by the Taliban in Afghanistan. According to the Afghan television network Tolo News, the Taliban-formed government gave leadership positions to I'm not even going to try and pronounce that last name, dude. Nurullah Nuri Abdul Haq Wasiq and Mohammed Fazal, all of whom were released in 2014, between the Obama administration and the Taliban to free Bergdahl. I just want to know what happened to that awful terrorist, Mabals Bihari. I also want to know what happened to, what was the other guy's name? Yusuk Madik. What happened to that guy? Where did he go? Is he going to be in senior leadership too? On Tuesday, the Taliban announced that Karkwa would serve as an acting minister for information and culture. Nouri would serve as acting minister of borders and tribal affairs. Wasiq would serve as acting director of intelligence, and Fazal would serve as deputy defense minister. Wasiq will reprise his role as the Taliban's intelligence director, previously serving in the role prior to September 11th. Terrorist attacks on America. U.S. intelligence agencies determined that Wasiq had a close tie to al-Qaeda while he was serving in the position at the time. Thomas Jocelyn, a senior fellow for the Foundation of Defensive Democracies. Why does that exist? I hope that's a private company. Noted that Fazal will also return to his role as Deputy Defense Minister. U.S. officials found that Fazal worked with senior al-Qaeda personnel, including Abdul Hadi al-Iraqi, one of Osama bin Laden's chief lieutenants. Jocelyn wrote in a tweet, "Al-Iraqi is still held at Guantanamo." Last month, following the Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan, the Taliban announced that Mohammed Nabi Omari, another former Guantanamo Bay Naval Base detainee with close ties to al-Qaeda, would govern Khost province. Yes, and okay, I don't really understand why this is important. I don't. Except for Fox News trying to take a dig at the Obama admin. But, I mean, you knew this was going to happen. You absolutely knew this was going to happen. And yes, if it wasn't these 4, there were 5,000 that Trump let out that probably got to high-ranking membership status as well. So why do you want to focus on these ones? Oh, because you can make this a right-left thing. But that's what we see coming back up off of that. Let's grab one from The Intercept. I don't use The Intercept here. We're going to shift gears. We're going to move away from Afghanistan. Let's talk about what The Intercept has to say. Now, this is not a green check verified publication, even though I used it twice. It's still worth noting. It's still worth looking at. It's still worth seeing what's going on with this. So from The Intercept, new details emerge about coronavirus research at Chinese lab from Sharon Lerner and Mara Vistendal. That's how we're going to say that's pronounced. Newly released documents provide details of U.S.-funded research on several types of coronaviruses at the Wuhan Institute of Virology in China. The Intercept has obtained more than 900 pages of documents detailing the work at EcoHealth Alliance, a U.S.-based health organization that used federal money to fund bat coronavirus research at the Chinese lab. The trove of documents includes 2 previously published grant proposals that were funded by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, as well as project updates, releasing the EcoHealth Alliance's research, which has been scrutinized amid increased interest in the origins of the pandemic. The documents were released in connection with ongoing Freedom of Information Act litigation by The Intercept against the National Institutes of Health. The Intercept is making the full documents available to the public. Okay, show me the documents. This is a roadmap to the high-risk research that could have led to the current pandemic, said Gary Ruskin, executive director of the U.S. Right to Know, a group that has been investigating the origins of the pinko fucking pox. One of the grants, titled Understanding the Risk of Bad Coronavirus Emergence, outlines an ambitious effort led by EcoHealth Alliance President Peter Daszak to screen thousands of bat samples for novel coronavirus. Our research also involved screening people who work with live animals. The documents contain several critical details about the research in Wuhan, including the fact that key experimental work with humanized mice was a conduct of a biosafety Level 3 lab at Wuhan University Center for Animal Experiment, and not at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, as was previously assumed. The documents raise additional questions about the theory that the pandemic may have begun in a lab accident, an idea that Daszak has aggressively dismissed. The bat coronavirus grant provided EcoHealth Alliance with a total of $3.1 million, including $599,000 that the Wuhan Institute of Virology used in part to identify and alter bat coronaviruses likely to infect humans. Even before the pandemic, many scientists were concerned about the potential dangers associated with such experiments. The grant proposal acknowledges some of the dangers. Fieldwork involves the highest risk of exposure to SARS or other CoVs while working in caves with high bat density overhead and the potential for fecal dust to be inhaled. Wait. Are they actually saying outright or out loud, this stuff came from bat shit? Dude, that is batshit fucking crazy. Alina Chan, a molecular biologist at the Broad Institute, said the documents show that EcoHealth Alliance has reason to take the lab leak theory seriously. In this proposal, they actually point out that they know how risky the work is. They keep talking about the people potentially getting bitten, and they kept records of everyone who got bitten. Chan said, "Does EcoHealth save those records? And if not, how can they possibly rule out a research-related accident?" According to Richard Ebright, a molecular biologist at Rutgers, the document contained critical information about the research done in Wuhan, including about the creation of novel viruses. The viruses they constructed were tested for their ability to infect mice and that were engineered to display a human-type receptors in their cell, Ebright wrote. To The Intercept, after reviewing the documents, Ebright also said documents make it clear that two different types of novel coronaviruses were able to infect humanized mice. While they were working on SARS-related coronaviruses, they were carrying out parallel projects at the same time on MERS-related coronaviruses. Ebright said, referring to the viruses that cause Middle East respiratory syndrome. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. There are a lot of things to talk about with this. Number one, first and foremost, we need to talk about whether or not Fauci was involved. And it kind of looks like, from what we've seen just from The Intercept here, he was. I want to read these documents. I don't care if it's 900 pages. I want to read what this is and see what's here. Do we have the documents yet? It doesn't look like I'm linked to the documents themselves yet. But it looks like this is something that is going to be released somewhere in the near future. So here's one of the grants right there. Let's look at this. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Principal Investigator Peter Daszak. Project title, Understanding the Risk of Bad Coronavirus Emergence. Email redacted. $666,442 grant. Pursuant to the authority of 42 USC 42 CFR 52, and is subject to the requirements of the statute and regulation and other referenced, incorporated, attached forms and conditions. Acceptance, including the terms and conditions, is acknowledged by the grantee. An unobligated balance may be carried over to the next budget period without grants. Award is issued with the knowledge subjects may be involved within the period of support. So going over this, we would definitely have to go back and look in and see 528 pages of this kind of stuff. What it is that they're doing, what the research is that they're going for. But I mean, this is just the financial statement. 528 pages of financial statement. And there is the project narrative. Most emerging human viruses come from wildlife, and these represent a significant threat to the global public health and biosecurity, as demonstrated by SARS coronavirus pandemic of 2002-2003 and an ongoing SARS-like epidemic in the Middle East. This project seeks to understand what factors allow animal coronaviruses to evolve and jump into the human population by studying virus diversity in a critical group of animals at sites where high risk of emergence, wildlife markets, in an emerging disease hotspot, China. So not only were they researching gain of function, they were researching how this stuff happened naturally. I can see where this would be a lab leak. And again, I don't know what was there. I wasn't there, but I can see just on the little bit that I've read about this, off of this document and the article that came before it, where this could be a lab leak and where this could be a problem. So we're going to keep watching that and see what some of this documentation looks like. Let's grab one from Fox News. Glenn Greenwald mocks The Intercept for accidentally unearthing details on U.S. coronavirus research in China. From Brandon Gillespie. Journalist Glenn Greenwald took aim at The Intercept on Tuesday, mocking the news site he co-founded for accidentally undermining their own liberal politics by reporting on a potentially closer link between the U.S. coronavirus research in China and the origins of the pandemic. The Intercept, Greenwald pointed out, previously downplayed Senator Rand Paul's claims that gain-of-function research, financed by Anthony Fauci's employer, the National Institutes of Health, might have led to the development of the coronavirus that began to spread in late 2019. In a piece published Monday, The Intercept admitted that despite the July piece criticizing Paul, new details had emerged about the U.S.-funded research in China through health organization EcoHealth Alliance as a result of a Freedom of Information Act request against the NIH that raised additional questions about the theory that the pandemic may have begun in a lab accident. This is amazing. In July, The Intercept, one of the most dishonest partisan hacks, Robert McKay, basically called Rand Paul a liar and a deranged conspiracy theorist over and over for suggesting Fauci-funded research that could have caused the pandemic, Greenwald wrote on Twitter. But yesterday, the same Intercept admits that it sought documents about the Fauci-funded research by EcoHealth, Peter Daszak's group, that raise additional questions about the theory that the pandemic may have begun in a lab accident, he added. So, and I mean, I didn't realize The Intercept was so left-leaning either, but, I mean, it is amazing that it comes out of this, and I really want to sit down and read the rest of these documents. We're holding on to this article and talking about some of the stuff that comes off of here. Does it undermine their credibility? Well, not their credibility, but it does undermine their liberal politics, but it does bring us out to the truth if this is all true, and I do want to see where this goes. But we'll go from that. Let's grab one from the New York Post. New documents show Fauci has been keeping us from the truth. This is an op-ed. Take this with a grain of salt as to what it is. St. Anthony Fauci just lost his halo for more than a year. No, he is still St. Fauci. St. Anthony of Fauci, hallowed be his name, the patron saint of medicine. For more than a year, the media has hailed our kindly scientist grandfather as some sort of infallible holy figure. But news reporting cast doubt on Fauci's insistence that no U.S. money went to gain-of-function research, where scientists manipulate viruses, often making them more transmittable, to study their effects and develop treatments. Records acquired by The Intercept detail grants that the U.S. government's scientific agencies gave an outfit called EcoHealth Alliance, which funds some of the money into research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology in China. One clause in the contract said that prior to altering mutant viruses, the NIAID needed a detailed description of the proposed changes. Work on a coronavirus must be submitted to the NIAID for review and approval. The NIAID is the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, of which Dr. Fauci is the director. In May, St. Anthony of Fauci insisted that the U.S. has never and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Perhaps he defines gain-of-function so narrowly that altering mutant viruses doesn't count, but Senator Rand Paul certainly does, and tweeting, "Surprise, surprise, Fauci lied again." Fauci's coziness with the Wuhan Lab Associates has left him compromised again and again. After the COVID outbreak, Peter Daszak, president of EcoHealth, scrambled to get scientists, including Fauci, to publicly denounce the idea that the virus leaked from the Wuhan lab. To Daszak's efforts paid off when Facebook and other social networks censored any allegation against the lab as false. Yo, I wonder if this video is even going to get, or if it's even going to be able to stay up at this point. Because I have talked a lot about the lab leak theory here. And now I've seen documents that could see it. But it's The Intercept, so it must be okay, right? But yeah, St. Anthony, he'll save us all. I'll say that because we're on YouTube. Alright, what else do we have here? Ah! More Fauci! From the Hill, Fauci on hospitals. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Well, you know, that's a tough call, Jim, to prioritize a vaccinated versus an unvaccinated person. I don't think we're going to get there. There's talk of that. What we really should be doing, and I hope we are doing it, is to do everything we can to mitigate this number of people who are getting infected and requiring hospitalization and ICU beds. We are perilously close, as you mentioned in the beginning of the segment, of having, in certain areas of the country, getting so close to having full occupancy that you're going to be in a situation where you're going to have to make some very tough choices. The thing to do right now is to pull out all the stops on everything we can do to prevent new infections, which will ultimately lead to hospitalization. Vaccination is the number one. And if that means mandates at the local level for vaccinations, we've got to make sure that masking is implemented. And even if there are mask mandates which they're trying to push back against mask mandates, there should be mask mandates, because we know masks work. For sure they work. Well, you know.
So, and really, honestly, I've never seen these full hospital beds either. So, I'm not saying they don't happen. I'm not. They very possibly could be happening. I'm not saying that they don't. But I mean, I go by the hospital down in Janesville all the time. Parking lot's empty. Parking lot's maybe half full. It's got a few cars here and there. I don't see a lot of the ICU kind of stuff going on with that. And, you know, like, I won't go to Madison, so I don't get to see the UW. Maybe there's more going on in the UW. I don't see it because I don't go there, but that's possible. I suppose I just drove by UW Health. I never thought to look. Maybe I'll do that later today, just for a goof, you know? Drive up to UW Health, just see how full the parking lot is. How full the hospital is. Maybe I'll shoot myself in the leg and see if I can get admitted. No, we wouldn't do a thing like that. All right, let's grab one here from NPR for you guys. Fauci says DeSantis is completely incorrect to call vaccine a mere personal choice. This is from Bill Chappelle. And remember, this is NPR, where it's not your money, comrade, it's our money. So make sure you hit that big red donate button. Make sure that you get us some money, because we cannot exist without your donations. Don't give it to that independent creator that loves to get up in the morning and read you the news every morning. Give it to us, where we can afford quiet microphones that transmit our voices in such quality to help you fall asleep on the road. NPR. National Progressive Radio, it's not your money, comrade, it's our money. Let's see what Bill Chappelle has to say. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is completely incorrect to suggest vaccines are a personal choice with no broad implications. Says Dr. Anthony Fauci, hallowed be his name. If DeSantis feels that vaccines are not important for you people, then they're just important for some people, and that's completely incorrect, Fauci said after being asked about DeSantis' views during an interview on Tuesday with CNN. Vaccines have been the solution to public health crises such as smallpox, polio, and measles, Fauci said, but they rely on wide adoption to work, he added. When you're dealing with an outbreak of an infectious disease, it isn't only about you, Fauci said. There's a societal responsibility that we all have. Yeah, they've been trying to push that bullshit onto us since the commie fucking coup started. DeSantis said in a news conference that vaccines help people to avoid severe illnesses from COVID-19, but instead of saying everyone who's eligible should be vaccinated, the governor added a caveat. At the end of the day, it's about your health and whether you want that protection or not, DeSantis said. It really doesn't impact me or anybody else. In response to DeSantis' comments, Fauci said on Tuesday, yeah, that's not true at all. Aside from personal benefit of being protected against the coronavirus, Fauci said, when you have a virus that's circulating in the community and you are not vaccinated, you're part of the problem. Because you're allowing yourself to be a vehicle for the virus to be spreading to someone else. So it isn't as if it stops with you, unlike every other infectious disease in the world. The director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases said, adding that if unvaccinated person becomes infected, they could pass the coronavirus on to older people or those who are otherwise more vulnerable. Florida is seeing a sharp rise in coronavirus cases. DeSantis has taken a number of controversial positions on the coronavirus, including working to block mask and vaccine mandates at local levels and in school districts, even as Florida endures a precipitous rise in COVID-19 cases. The number of children being hospitalized with the pinko fucking pox in Florida has increased more than tenfold to reach an alarming new level, NPR member station WFSU reported last week. The governor's recent remarks about the vaccine and personal choice also sparked sharp criticism from the Miami Herald, which called the sentiments both incredible and wrong. Doesn't impact anyone else, the newspaper asked in an editorial. Talk about a profile in selfishness. Yes, in an editorial, not in something that's green check verified. Look, if you want the vaccine, get the vaccine. If you want help getting to the clinic to go take the vaccine, call me. I'll take you there myself. I don't care if you get this thing or not. It's your body, it's your choice. I'm not going to get it. Why? Don't give a fuck. And like I tweeted out so much further back, I barely take aspirin, yo. Well, are you going to rely on ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine? No. I barely take Tylenol. Why the hell would I take these two drugs? Now, both of them are long-term FDA approved for human use, but I don't know how they affect the pinko fucking pox. If I wind up finding out that I have the pinko pox, or I wind up getting mysteriously sick for 2 weeks, I'm going to take a couple weeks off work and stay in bed. And watch Mr. Robot, or maybe something else. Maybe I'll watch a movie, because everybody knows I don't do that. No, I'm not going to go and get this thing. But if you want it, it's your body, it's your choice. Go and get the thing. You don't have to virtue signal and post it on your social media. You don't, but if you want it, it's cool. I might rib you a little bit and ask you how your cell service is, but that's the extent of it. Because I don't care. You made the choice that was best for you. Let me make the choice that I feel is best for me. That's how this works. All right. A lot of stuff here. Yo, what state are you in that deer season starts on Friday? Because I don't think we have one up here yet until next month. I'd have to go double check. I don't think bow season starts until next month. All right, from CNN. How to protect children under 12 from COVID-19, according to Fauci, hallowed be his name, from Madeline Holcomb. St. Anthony of Fauci, the patron saint of medicine, hallowed be his name, says there's an important step adults can take to protect children who are too young to be vaccinated against the pinko pox. The way you protect children who are, because of their age, cannot get vaccinated yet is to surround the children. Be it friends, families, school teachers, personnel in the school, surround these children with vaccinated people. Really? Really? It's not a cult, folks. It's definitely not a religion. Just surround these people with love and vaccination, all right? Just surround them with it. Let the vaccination in society hold them in their arms, because that's the way that we're gonna beat this thing. Jeez. Oh. It's not a religion. They keep telling me it's not a religion. But I don't see any other word for this thing. They keep telling me it's not a religious service. That they're not going to wear their syringe necklace like a cross. And then they keep doing stupid shit. I can't do this article. I can't. We're skipping this one. I can't do this one. My brain fucking hurts. My brain hurts, you guys. But I can't skip the article yet because I can't see the screen from where I'm sitting. I'm that fucking blind. I mean, it's only arm's length in front of me and I can't see it at all. Like, I can see that there's a highlighted tab there. I can see there's text on the screen, but I can't see it enough that I'd be able to move the mouse pointer up to the next article. Oh my god. Oh. Next one. Rutgers bars unvaccinated student from attending virtual classes. From Lee Brown. A New Jersey student has said he is barred from taking classes at Rutgers because he has not been vaccinated, even though he's only studying virtually from home. Logan Holler, 22, told NJ.com that he largely ignored the school's COVID mandate because all my classes were remote from his Sandyston home, some 70 miles from Rutgers campus in New Brunswick. But he was locked out of his Rutgers email and related accounts when he went to pay his tuition at the end of last month, and he was told that he needed to be vaccinated even though he has no plans to attend in person. It's not a religion. It's not a cult, folks. Holler has now been forced to miss classes that started September 1st and has been warned that it could be weeks before a decision is reached on his application for an exemption to the vaccine mandate, he said. He's doing it from home. Yeah, is he going to give him a computer virus? I'll probably have to transfer to a different university, Holler told NJ.com, saying he knows at least one other student in the same position. I find it concerning for the vaccine to be pushed by the university rather than my doctor, he told the outlet. If someone wants to be vaccinated, that's fine with me, but I don't think it should be pushed, he insisted, saying he doesn't find COVID to be scary because he's healthy and not at an at-risk age group. I don't care if I have access to campus. I don't need to be there. They could ban me. I just want to be left alone, he said. Holler's stepfather, Keith Williams, who has been vaccinated, told the outlet he is dumbfounded at Rutgers' stance. Yeah, I think it's kind of stupid myself. I believe in science, I believe in vaccines, but I'm highly confident that COVID-19 variants do not travel through computer monitors by taking online classes, Williams told NJ.com. He chose to remove himself from on-campus experience so he would not need to be vaccinated, Williams said. Now, to be removed and shut down from his Rutgers email and online classes during the start of his senior year seems a bit crazy. Rutgers spokeswoman Dory Devlin insisted that the university has provided comprehensive information and direction to students to meet vaccine requirements through several communication channels. Yeah, but it doesn't go through the modem. That's the problem. She noted that Rutgers' policy differentiates between a fully online degree granting program and classes that are fully remote, but part of it, of course, where other students are on campus, as in Holler's case. Devlin told the site that staff continued to work, helping students apply for waiver requests for medical or religious reasons, while conceding that they should expect a 2 to 4 week turnabout, during which time they will not have access to university systems. From his online classes. It's not a cult, it's not a religion, folks. From NBC 6 out of South Florida, who mysteriously still has the Olympic logo on their logo. No vax, no visit. South Florida doctor won't treat unvaccinated patients in person. From Amanda Placencia. A Florida doctor says she will stop treating patients in person if they're not vaccinated against COVID-19, citing the risk of exposing immunocompromised patients and staffers to the virus that has killed over 46,000 people in the state and more than 648,000 nationwide. I understand that people are free to choose, but to me, it's a problem when it affects other people, Dr. Linda Maraschini said. Where does Dr. Linda Maraschini practice? Because I want to make sure that I never go there, because clearly the medical apparatus has failed that has allowed her to have a medical degree. And I want to make sure that I never get hurt or sick anywhere close to where an ambulance would take me to a hospital where this woman works. I don't ever want to be within ambulance range of that hospital ever in my life. And no, I'm not going to dox this woman. And by the way, if you dox her in the chat, you're out. Before anybody goes back to try to do that, to answer my question, if you dox her in the chat, you're out. No questions. I make that same thing to everybody else in the chat. Don't dox her. I will look this up privately. And if you are interested in being in the same position I am, I suggest you do the same. But no, we will not do this in the live chat in a publicly viewable area. With the Delta variant fueling the latest COVID-19 surge, the Maraschini said she had to make a tough decision for her practice. When it comes to the safety of others, when it comes to the fact that it's a global health problem and community health problem, at this point, I really say this is where it draws the line in the sand for me. Maraschini said, the family practice physician based out of South Miami, sent a letter to her patients saying they will no longer continue serving patients who are not vaccinated from COVID-19 by September 15th. Maraschini said the decision was based on science, not politics, and aims to avoid subjecting other patients and staff to unnecessary risk. There's been millions of deaths globally, so that's not something to ignore. People are getting the point where everybody knows somebody that died from the pinko pox, said Maraschini. This is a problem that really everyone needs to help out with, and it's affecting our collective communal health. The doctor insisted the policy does not violate her Hippocratic Oath, a set of ethical standards doctors pledge regarding the obligations to their patients, noting she's still offering the option of telemedicine or helping with referrals to other doctors. She also said she would make exceptions for people who could not get vaccinated for health reasons. Yeah, don't go to this doctor. If you are a patient of this doctor, even if you are fully vaccinated, don't go to this doctor. Because that's the stupidest thing I've heard in, well, 2 minutes, I'm not going to lie. Let's keep going. From the Associated Press, let's shift gears, let's talk about Texas. Mexico's Supreme Court rules that abortion is not a crime. From Maria Versa. I made an interesting observation about this, but let's talk about this for a second. Mexico City, Mexico Supreme Court ruled Tuesday that it's unconstitutional to punish abortion, unanimously annulling several provisions of a law from Coahuila, a state on the Texas border, that had made abortion a criminal act. The decision will immediately affect only the northern border state, but it establishes a historic precedent and obligatory criteria for all the country's judges, compelling them to act in the same way in similar cases, said Court President Arturo Zaldivar, from now on, you will not be able to, without violating the court's criteria and Constitution, charge any woman who aborts under the circumstances this court has ruled as valid. Those circumstances will be clarified when the decision is published, but everything that points to that referring to abortions carried out within the first 12 weeks of a pregnancy, the period allowed in the 4 states where abortion is already legal. The decision comes 1 week after Texas law took effect, effectively prohibiting abortions once medical professionals can detect a cardiac activity in the fetus. That's not true, but we've gone over that extensively. It allows private citizens to sue Texas abortion providers who violate the law, as well as anyone who aids or abets a woman getting the procedure. So, with that, let's talk about this for just a half a second and find why I found this funny. So, we've heard about this, and, the leftoids will say, no, that never happens. They never do this kind of thing. But we'll talk about this where women from Cuba who are pregnant, women from Mexico who are pregnant, women from Central America who are pregnant, will come to the United States on birthing vacations so that they have a child. And I don't want to use the AB term, but you know what I'm talking about, who will have a child on U.S. soil just to make sure that the child becomes a legitimate U.S. citizen. They'll have the birthing vacation. Meanwhile, if I'm reading this correctly, and I'm sure that Mexico is doing this as a publicity stunt to go trying to get more tourism down there, because you have the tourism, then you're going to go eat, especially if you're not pregnant anymore. If they're going to turn this state and all their northern border states into abortion vacation states. So people will be going from Texas to go on an abortion vacation in Mexico. A birth vacation into the U.S. and an abortion vacation in Mexico. Can't you see the irony there? From CNN, Texas governor signs voting restrictions bill into law. I thought he did that already. I thought he did that last week. From Eric Bradner. Texas Governor Greg Abbott on Tuesday signed into law a bill that bans 24-hour and drive-through voting, imposes new hurdles on mail-in ballots, and empowers partisan poll watchers. The restrictive voting measure adds Texas to the list of Republican-controlled states that have seized on former President Trump's lies about widespread voter fraud and clamped down on access to the ballot box this year. Already, Florida, Georgia, and other states have enacted new voting laws. The election overhaul in Texas comes as Republicans seek to hold on to power in a rapidly changing state where people of color make up virtually all of the population growth, and that growth is concentrated in large cities that tend to vote Democratic. Democrats had fled the Capitol in Austin for weeks in an effort to stymie the bill, first preventing the passage of a similar measure at the end of the state's regular legislative session in May, then forcing Abbott to call 2 special sessions to tackle what the government called election integrity. But it's the lies. It's the evil Trump lies that he's doing this. It has nothing to do with things that we saw or gaps that we saw in security in this last election, which we used totally new technology we had never tested before, 6 months before an election. But it's those lies. It's those absolute lies that the Trump administration said. Well, I guess we'll see what happens. It does make it easier than ever before for anyone to go cast a ballot. It does also, however, make sure it's harder than ever for people to cheat at the ballot box, Abbott said in an event in which he signed the bill into law. Opponents of SB 1 and its provisions will disproportionately restrict voting access. Say that it will disproportionately restrict voting access for marginalized voters, particularly people of color and those with disabilities. Well, you know what you do at that point? You go up to the mayor of Dallas, of Fort Worth, of Austin, of San Antonio, of El Paso, current El Paso, not old El Paso. You go up to these mayors and say, please, Mr. Mayor, please, may we have another voting precinct? Please, Mr. Mayor, will you open up another polling place for us? Please, Mr. Mayor, will you do this for us? Because, like in most states, your municipality determines what your voting precinct is and where your polling place is. Whether they combine several of them into one polling place, or they have an individual precinct for each, or I'm sorry, an individual polling place for each precinct.
Rather, it's about tending to the broken parts inside of ourselves.
But this bill is signed. It is now law in Texas. Hopefully we see other states continuing to do the same. Lest we get a honk honk another election in a simulation that happened like the 2020 election, honk honk.
That wave isn't necessarily
All right, from the Hill.
rather
Abbott says Texas will eliminate all rapists in defending the abortion bill, from Cameron Jenkins.
comes from an understanding that ideas aren't static.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott on Tuesday defended his state's controversial abortion bill by arguing the legislation does allow for victims of rape to get an abortion and that the state will work towards eradicating all rapists. Dude, that's just dumb. And it's not like the idea that it's not something I want them to do. Greg Abbott, if you have the power, do it. But just like with gun violence, we're going to eliminate all the guns, and that's going to eliminate all the gun violence. Okay, what about the stick violence, the rock violence, the shovel violence, the knife violence, the nail gun violence? Or maybe they'll eliminate the nail guns too, I don't know. The pneumatic impact gun violence, the hammer violence. See, you say you can eliminate all these things, but you can't eliminate the evil in people's hearts. We are a fallen race. We have evil people in our race. And sometimes a person who is normally good gets beaten down or upset or pushed into a corner somewhere and he turns into a monster. You can't eliminate all rapists. You are not God. Sometimes I wonder if you think you are, Governor Abbott. I'm talking to you. But you are not God. Abbott made his comments during a press conference in which he addressed how a law applies to incidents of rape, according to a local NBC news station. He said that the new law, which bans abortions after fetal heartbeat, is detected and allows victims of rape up to 6 weeks to get an abortion, arguing that it does not do forcing victims to have their assaulter's child, the news outlet reported. Let's be clear, rape is a crime, Abbott said according to KXAN, and Texas will work tirelessly to make sure that we'll eliminate all rapists from the streets of Texas by aggressively going out and arresting them and prosecuting them and getting them off the streets. Yeah, but we don't do pre-crime in this country either. Keep that in mind. The law has been widely criticized by pro-choice advocates. President Biden last week condemned the law, saying it will significantly impair women's access to health care. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but you can't do that. You are not God. So, this is tremendously stupid. Absolutely is. But, you know, one good thing about, and this is a follow-up to what we saw yesterday, about Portland banning travel, coming to and from Portland for state visits. Senator Ted Cruz commenting on the New York Post article, Portland to cut trade, travel with Texas amid abortion law outrage. Ted Cruz, who has shattered his credibility, but occasionally still gets a dinger, says, Antifa will no longer vacation in Texas. Huzzah for Ted Cruz. All right, from Fox Business, we got a couple more left, and then we will do, what's today, Wednesday, something I'm thankful for, and head out of here for the day. From Fox Business, Arizona State Treasurer divests all state funds from Ben & Jerry's for anti-Semitic boycott of Israel. From Jessica Chasmar, oh, looks like the market started upwards. Arizona is divesting all public funds from Ben & Jerry's over the company's boycott against Israel, State Treasurer Kimberly Yee announced on Tuesday. As Arizona Treasurer, I've divested all state funds from Ben & Jerry's for boycotting Israel. Yee tweeted, Israel is and will continue to be a major trade partner of Arizona. Hashtag I stand with Israel and I will not allow taxpayer dollars to go towards anti-Semitic discriminatory efforts against Israel. Ben & Jerry's, the Vermont-based ice cream company that supports left-wing issues, announced July that would not be renewing its contract with its licensee in Israel, which the company described as occupied Palestinian territory. Ye sent a letter on Thursday to a parent company, Unilever plc, saying it was actively boycotting Israel due to the actions of its subsidiary, and that such a boycott would be in direct violation of Arizona statute. Arizona law states that a public entity or public fund may not enter a contract or directly invest with a person or company that's engaged in boycotting Israel, the state's treasurer's office said in a press release. Really? That's on the books? Interesting. I wouldn't accept that. Now, I am actively... It's not a boycott. It really isn't a boycott if it's one person doing it, but I don't buy Ben & Jerry's. It's a small sacrifice for me because they actually have really good ice cream. They have some of my favorite flavors, but just like I say when I talk about Burger King, when I talk about Walmart, when I currently talk about Target, in spite of the fact that they're based enough now to let their people open carry massive fucking rifles in their stores. I haven't decided if I'm going to go back to there or not, but when I don't go to these companies like this, it's not really a boycott. I just don't feel like giving people who hate me my money. And openly hate me. Like, I'm sure that Kohl's probably has similar religious views or political views to Target or Walmart or Burger King, but they don't make it public. And if I have to go dig to find out what their political views are, it's not worth it to me. I don't care that much. But it's these ones that make their political views public where I just don't want to give them my money. I gave Unilever plc, the parent company of Ben & Jerry's, an ultimatum: reverse the action of Ben & Jerry's or divest itself of Ben & Jerry's to come into compliance with Arizona law, or face the consequences. They chose the latter, Ye said in a release. So, well, that's interesting that that's specifically in Arizona law. I've never heard of such a thing. All right, two more, then we'll head out of here for the day. The Globe and Mail out of Canada says Canada aims to block Chelsea Manning from entering the country. Question. Is Bradley still allowed? That's probably going to get me kicked off YouTube. That's hate speech. From Colin Freeze. A decade after Chelsea Manning revealed U.S. state secrets about the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, officials in Ottawa are seeking to permanently block her from entering Canada. A tribunal hearing to determine Miss Manning's admissibility, meaning her legal ability to enter Canada, is scheduled to take place on October 7th. In 2013, an American judge ordered the former U.S. Army private to spend 35 years in jail after finding her guilty in providing the WikiLeaks organization with hundreds of thousands of sensitive U.S. military and diplomatic documents. That sentence was later commuted by U.S. President Barack Hussein O. Now, Canada's Immigration and Reform Board, an administrative tribunal that makes decisions about who can enter Canada, is about to revisit the case. Federal officials are preparing to argue that Miss Manning's past crimes render her too dangerous to be allowed entry into the country. Why? Because she told the truth? We need more whistleblowers, yo. Legitimately, unless you are releasing information that will get somebody killed, and there is state information out there that will get people killed. Unless you are releasing top secret information that puts somebody directly in the line of fire, I think you should be able to release all the government information you want. You should. We'll take a step back and talk about the fact that some of these things can get people killed, because I don't want to see people die. That's the important part for me, is I don't want to see people die. But you should be able to do this. Isn't it funny that Canada's got tighter border security than the US too? The government's position is that she should be blocked on grounds of serious criminality. Thousands of people are turned away at the Canadian border for similar reasons each year. Yeah, you can't get into Canada if you have a DUI, apparently. I've never tried. I don't have a DUI, but That's what they say. But lawyers acting in Montreal for Ms. Manning described her case as anything but routine. They argue in the pre-hearing submissions that the government's bid to block one of the most well-known whistleblowers in modern history would offend Canada's constitutional press freedoms. Legal questions surrounding Ms. Manning's ability to cross the Canadian border have been unresolved since 2017, the year that Canada's Border Services Agency's guards turned her away at a crossing. The federal government later let her enter Canada for a few days in 2018 without making a formal decision about her admissibility. Ever since, Ms. Manning's lawyers have been fighting over an admissibility hearing, which she's entitled to have under immigration laws. After years of delays, the hearing will now happen in October. Like, is Chelsea Manning trying to move to Canada? Is that what's happening? Because other than just the "because I can" argument, I don't see any reason why you make a big deal out of this. If I went to the Canadian border and said, okay, I want to come in your country for a couple days, enjoy your fine lagers and beers, and some of your maple syrup, and I got to the border in International Falls, because that's probably where I would go. If I drove up to northern Minnesota, to International Falls, got to the border, and the people in red coats stopped me and said, "Hey, what's your business in Canada, man?" I said, "I want to enjoy some nice Molson, some nice Pilsners, and have some maple syrup." And they say, "Oh, well, you talk into a microphone about political things that we don't like, so you're not allowed in our country." I wouldn't go out and say, "Okay, well, we're going to have an immigration hearing about this, and I demand to be let in your country." I would look at them and I'd say, "Okay, fuck you, bye." And I would never attempt to enter Canada again. It's that simple. It's that easy. If they tell you no, don't try and overturn it. Like, if you're about to lose a massive, massive amount of money that your company has invested into you to be able to go up there and make a bunch of money because your job got moved up to Canada, then I would have the hearing. Then I would go back and say, okay, well, my company needs me to immigrate here. I'll be in the poorhouse if I don't go. So let's have this hearing. But if you're just going up to do this because you say you can, just tell them to fuck themselves. Their country sucks anyway. Alright, but that's what we see coming out of that. And the last one, before we do something that I am thankful for, comes once again from The Intercept. Heather Bresch, Joe Manchin's daughter, played direct part in EpiPen price inflation scandal. Because we have to go after Joe Manchin right now, because he might be the one that stops the infrastructure bill going through. I would laugh my balls off if they kept pushing for this and demanded that Joe Manchin resign, and he resigned, and the governor of West Virginia appointed a Republican in his place. Or he just switches parties at this point. From Heather Bresch, the former president and CEO of drug maker Mylan worked directly with CEO of Pfizer to keep prices of the company's EpiPen product artificially high, according to new documents released as a part of an ongoing lawsuit. The documents showed that Bresch approving a scheme to force the customers captured by the company's monopoly to purchase 2 EpiPens at once. Regardless of medical need, the EpiPen is an auto-injectable device that injects epinephrine into the body and can be the difference between life or death for a person suffering a severe allergic reaction. The documents were released as part of an ongoing antitrust suit in federal court. In June, Judge Daniel Crabtree issued a summary judgment, partially siding with Mylan and partially siding with the plaintiffs, meaning the case goes on. Late last week, the judge unsealed some of the documents underlying the plaintiff's case. Among the documents is an email sent on behalf of Bresch, who is the daughter of Senator Joe Manchin, to her counterpart at Pfizer, then CEO Ian Reed. In the email sent in January 2011, Bresch confirms a previous discussion with Reed in it, in which she says the two agreed as part of the deal Pfizer would disinvest from its EpiPen competitor, Adrenaclick, eliminating its main competitor would then allow Mylan to continue raising its prices. On 07, when Mylan acquired the rights to the market drug from Merck by buying its specialty pharmaceutical subsidiary Day, a 2-pack cost less than $100, a tiny fraction of what it costs today. The result of the deal with Merck was that Mylan manufactured part of the EpiPen delivery system, but not the medication itself, while owning the brand name and the right to distribute the whole product. The drug itself was produced by King Pharmaceuticals, which manufactured it exclusively for Mylan. So, do we not have a competitor yet? Like, the EpiPen has been around since I was a kid. There were 2 people in my tiny class that had one. That's been around since the early 90s. The patent has got to be up on that thing by now. There's no way the patent is not up by that thing. Do we not have a competitor? Is there not some competitor out there that can come back and make, that can make these things and drive the price down? Is there not something to do that? That's what we need, more free competition. This sounds like a government problem. The government imposing things in place to make sure that these companies get the monopoly and don't let a competitor rise up. This doesn't sound like a problem with this woman, even though it sounds like that she's kind of a scumbag too. Well, they're going to try and tie her name to Joe Manchin. It does sound like she's a bit of a scumbag. But, you know, the free market would fix this. If somebody could reverse engineer this thing and make it for cheaper and sell it for cheaper, nobody would buy the EpiPen. And you know what? They would drop their prices in a hurry. Government intervention for the win, folks. Fuck it all. Alright, let's get out of here for the day. But before we do that, we got to talk about something that I am thankful for. And, well, let's talk about this for just a second. Now, most of you guys know, I am growing my hair right now. Well, a lot of you guys, you know, used to see it hanging around my ears back before I started tying it back. I chose to do this at the time when we were sitting here and the commie coof was keeping people from going out to get their haircuts, and then subsequently you had to wear the stupid mask if you wanted to go get the haircut. You can't walk into the Great Clips without the stupid mask on. You can't sit in the chair. You can't do this. You can't do that. At the time, I decided it was too much effort. I didn't want to fucking deal with it. And then I did get 2 haircuts with the stupid mask on. I did do that twice. But once I started getting sick of it, I said, you know what, I'm just going to grow it. It's time for charity. It's time to go donate and do something back. I have a lot of cancer that has gone through my family. 2 of my aunts have passed away from cancer. 3 of my aunts, if technically you want to call the other one, but I know my mom will flip out if she hears me say that. But 3 of them have died from cancer at this point. It's all around me. It's constantly around me. Everywhere. So yes, I decided to grow it back out. And I'm not doing it as a political statement. I'm not doing it as fuck the man or fuck your beauty standards. I'm doing it because when it gets to 10 inches long in the ponytail, we're taking a pair of scissors and we're lopping that fucker off. And we're sending it out somewhere to go make a cancer wig for somebody. And I'm probably going to do it again at this point. And I've got an uncle as well. And we talked about this specifically at length over the weekend because he is going to be doing this permanently forever now. It's not just going to be the one time. The last time he gave 24 inches, the last time we got a haircut, 24 inches, because it was another thing. Our aunt, my aunt, not his aunt, died of cancer, lung cancer that metastasized from uterine cancer. And he promised her on her deathbed that he would grow out his hair and give it away for wigs. And you know what? I'm going to do the same. Somebody out there has to take chemo and is going to lose all of his or her hair. So, given the chance, I'm going to take some time. I'm going to make sure that I give it to a place, and I don't know where I'm going to because I know Locks for Love charges for wigs, but I'm going to give it out to a place that I know is going to give it away for free. Because somebody somewhere out there, you know, that hair, that bald head is not going to help a person get a job somewhere out there or work in normal circumstance, but it will help somebody go out there and live a more dignified life. And that's what I want to do. And I'm thankful there are more people out there that do that. I hope maybe some of my listeners will just maybe not do it permanently like I plan to do, but take another chance and go back and do it again. Go back and do it just once to see how it feels to have longer hair. And then chop it all off and give it away to somebody who could really, really use this because they're struggling in a hard spot in their life. I hope my followers would do something like that. I plan to do it again. That makes me thankful that there are people out there that would do that, and it restores my faith in humanity. Let's go. Let's get out of here for the day. Thank you, Matthew Hammond. So we got to change up the track here. And finish out with the end credits. I don't have end credits, but you know what I'm talking about. Holy shit, that's loud. Alright, so thanks everybody who came by and chatted in the live chat. Of course, we will read all your live chats off air. Thanks everybody for coming and hanging out with me and all the other heads as well. The new listeners, the lurkers, the people who've come by at the beginning, the people who came by at the end, and everybody who loves to hear the news from somebody who doesn't wear a suit that costs more than their house. We'll be going over and checking out the Daily Ignoramus coming up here. If he is going, let me actually go check and see if he's got a live announcement or reminder coming up here, because I know he streamed late yesterday. Yep, live now, so we'll be heading over there. I'll be in the live chat with you guys, so go and check that out. Stephen Ignoramus on YouTube, Stephen Ignoramus on DLive. Go and check that out as well. Otherwise, come back and join me tomorrow for more Contemporary. Until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.